Hello and a warm welcome to Federal special program Capital Beat. Congress President Mallikarjun Kharge today claimed that there is something fishy about Jagdeep Dhankhar's resignation as a vice president and asked the government to clarify on it. Now, Mr. Kharge also claimed that Mr. Dhankar used to defend the BJP and RSS more than the BJP and RSS people themselves, but still had to resign. Now, the government must answer why he resigned, what are the reasons, what is the secret behind it. We feel that dal mein kuch kala hai. This is what he said, that there's something fishy. Now, likewise, similar questions have been raised by Akhilesh Yadav, Mamta Banerjee. But the big question is that has Dhankar's resignation already become a hot potato to put the government on the mat? We are also being told from some quarters that opposition unitedly will raise this issue inside the House and outside the parliament as well. But what next after Dhankar's resignation? Now, will India Bloc also have a nominee for the post of the vice president? Because if you keep Dhankar's resignation aside, then of course there are procedural things which will unfold, like the notification for the election of the vice president, then prime minister meeting the NDA leaders as to who the probable contenders could be. And so amidst these questions, there is a whole lot of uncertainty as to what's going to happen. Of course, the question remains as to what was the mystery, why Dhankar had to resign. So we'll have to deal with all these questions today. Joining me this evening is Anand Sahai, senior journalist and political commentator. Thank you so much, Anand, for joining. We have Puneet Nicholas Yadav, political editor of the Federal Group. Thank you so much, Puneet, for joining. And I'll begin with you because you've been in touch with the leaders. You must have got some more updates today. What is really happening as far as the opposition is concerned? Is it true that the opposition is going to raise this issue inside the House and outside as far as Dhankar's resignation mystery is concerned?
Yes, there certainly seems to be the plan, provided the House functions. So outside the House, of course, they've been raising this. Today, you must have heard a whole lot of opposition leaders raising these questions as they did even yesterday. So now, whether the House functions, not only whether the House functions, but also whether the presiding officers in both houses, or at least one of the two houses, allows a discussion on this subject. Will the government agree to have a discussion on this? So those questions are, difficult to answer at this point, but certainly the opposition does plan to, raise this matter, and we'll have to wait and see whether, they are able to do that inside Parliament too.
But any particular update from the BJP quarters? Because there's a complete like a radio silence from the BJP's end, except for that one tweet by Prime Minister Modi, which we saw, and people started speculating in their own way as to what is the reality, and they spoke about too many riddles, which everyone was just guessing. Any update from the BJP quarters, or we've just not seen any BJP leader talking about it?
See, I think that silence in itself speaks volumes. The Prime Minister, as far as the Prime Minister is concerned, he, of course, has left the country for the next 4 days. I believe he'll be back on the 26th. So what we've been told unofficially is that once he returns on the 26th, so either on the 27th or maybe on the 28th, there could be a meeting of the senior leaders of the BJP and senior ministers in the cabinet, followed by a meeting with leaders from the NDA to sort of have a consensus on the candidate. Now, consensus is defined very differently in the Modi era. So, one will have to wait and see what are the terms of that consensus. Is it going to be the BJP basically dictating, or rather the Prime Minister basically dictating who he wants to back? Because you have to see that the circumstances today are different from the circumstances, the political circumstances when Mr. Dhankar was first elected. Numerically, the BJP was much more stronger. Politically, the cohesion between the BJP and the RSS was better in 2022 than it is at this point in time. So those factors will also come into play. So it may not be as easy a thing for the prime minister to simply, dictate terms to everyone and say, this is my nominee and you have to, basically accept it, or it really doesn't matter. So we'll have to wait and see how that goes. On the other side, also, we'll have to wait and see how the India bloc reacts to that. But
Right.
as far as the BJP is concerned, for now, of course, radio silence from most of the leadership. You still haven't heard from any leader in the party aside from the Prime Minister reacting to Mr. Dhankhar's resignation, and the Prime Minister's reaction in itself, as we discussed the other day, was a very cold and cryptic reaction. So that is where it stands. And discussions on who is to replace Mr. Dhankhar will begin once the PM is back in the country. The Election Commission has already announced that it has set in motion the process. That process, also, I can tell you from what I'm hearing as of now, tentatively, sometime in September is when the government wants the election. So, because in any case, once the notification is issued for the election of the vice president, there is roughly a time frame of 30, 31, 32 odd days, because you have to give 14 days for filing of nomination, that is mandated, 1 day for scrutiny, 2 days for withdrawal, followed by 15 days for the campaign,
No, but
if there is an election.
Puneet, you said that probably in September. Do you think
Yeah.
that they would disturb the momentum of the Bihar elections with having a vice president election sometimes in September, or the probability could be that the vice president election takes place after the Bihar elections?
Well, I don't know, but as far as what I've been given to understand, it would most likely be September.
Okay, so you're saying that it could be most likely be September. Okay, so
Yeah.
Anand, I'll come to you now. What is your feeling? The September vice president elections, what Puneet is pointing out that in all probabilities it could be September. So what happens then? I mean, the political momentum to the whole thing in the middle of Bihar elections, how easy or how complicated that situation would be for both the opposition and the ruling side.
Yes. Well, hard to say, Nilu, but I think if the government of India, if Mr. Modi's government feels that, supposing they were to field someone from Bihar, some names are floating around. We have no idea what they will do eventually. So, will that impact the NDA in Bihar in a favorable manner? In which case, they may well go for it. And if they do, that will help them to paper over any cracks, if there are any, between the JDU and the BJP, the two principal parties of the NDA in Bihar. If not, if they feel that they will be sounding their allies, they will also be sounding Telugu Desam. So how Telugu Desam reacts to these things? Maybe it will be favorable. Maybe they don't wish to rock the boat, in which case they could pick someone from Bihar. On the other hand, if they feel that picking someone from Bihar may actually lead to certain tensions within the party, within the NDA bloc in Bihar, supposing that is the calculation of the BJP, then perhaps they would rather go for somebody else. But all of this, this process of making these political calculations, if they will, talk to various people, get a quick briefing, quick idea, if they feel it will be smooth sailing, they may well go for September.
No, but Anand, are you saying that the allies of BJP? Okay, you complete your point, then I'll ask you the question.
Yeah,
Please.
what I'm saying is the soundings they take from their partners as well as their own party in among the prominent names that we are guessing, we are speculating about, or they could well be someone totally different, entirely different. We don't know. But on the eve of the election in Bihar, they don't want bad blood, either within their own system, BJP system, or with allies. So they will make, and if they feel that this could lead to a lot of, unhappiness, which could lead to squabbling, they would rather not have that now than they'll wait for Bihar elections to get over.
Hmm.
So now the Bihar elections perhaps are in November. I'm not clear what the dates will be, but if they are in November, they can do it after that. If the BJP has done well, let's say, in the election, then of course there will be a certain momentum. If they have not done well, the mood is different in that case. So all of these factors will come into play.
No, but Anand, what I was wanting to ask you is that this election to the post of the vice president has been engineered because of a situation which was created. It's not that something which was due and we were supposed to have a vice president election. It wasn't like that. It was a situation which was created because of reasons A, B, C, and now this election has been imposed. For the BJP, also, it could be imposed or willfully imposed. We do not know how to put it across. But wouldn't the allies think about this particular election of the vice president much more than what the prospects related to Bihar elections could be? Because, like you said, that Chandrababu Naidu could think twice. But then the constitutional question, the big constitutional question remains that, why on earth was there a need for a vice president election, which wasn't called for at this point of time? So Bihar elections comes later, but if, like what Puneet is saying, that in all probabilities it could be in September. So in that particular scenario, what will be the equations of the BJP's allies, whether it is Nitish Kumar, whether it is Chandrababu Naidu or LJP? How would those equations work around as far as the dynamics of this is concerned?
Well, I think you've asked strands of several questions actually in this. And so what I'm saying is that, of course, you're right in saying that the need for a vice president election, no matter when it's held, it arose because Mr. Dhankar went and resigned.
Yes.
See, it seems to us that it happened, it was a sudden event, it was an unexpected event. Was it unexpected to the BJP? I do not know. Or did they contribute to the triggering of the election also? So that demands an answer. It is an important political event. The Vice President of India does not go and resign one day. He's conducting the House perfectly well. He may have taken the health plea, but he's in fairly normal health. And, he goes and resigns. So what's happened? The question to ask is if the opposition parties, as you informed us, and as I mean, you've taken the stock of the whole thing. If they are raising questions, asking questions, then the question to ask is that why have we, as a country, been thrown into so much confusion? Because in the past, whenever vice
Exactly.
president resigned, it is in order to contest the election for president. So, in which case, there is no need to give an explanation. Now, this is a entirely new kind of situation.
Yes.
Normally, when ministers quit of their own volition, sometimes, or for any other reason, the opposition asks them to, stand up and make a statement because they are members of the House. You see? Uh, but the vice president is not a member of the House, meaning not an elected Rajya Sabha member. If he has put in his papers, then he just bows out. He does not come back to the chambers anymore. So he cannot give an explanation except unofficially or through interview if he so desires. That he can, of course, he's always free to do that. The government ought to. Now, there are no precedents in this matter. There are no rules and regulations and conventions. So it really is up to the government, you see. If the government feels that it will hurt its chances as a in the to set up the political atmosphere, where it may well come up with some kind of a a very watery kind of an explanation, which nobody will quite buy, but nevertheless there is an explanation for the record. But I think because the situation which led Mr. Dhankar to leave his office, those are important in themselves. What are they? What what was so earth shaking that the then vice president did to warrant his resignation? You know, was he threatened? If you do not resign, then we will pass a motion of no confidence against you. There have been hints to that effect, I think. So if that is the case, then it's very serious. What was it? I mean, why did you think of a no confidence motion? They were denied. There are all these stories that in batches of 10 or whatever, they were in the call after a meeting with the prime minister at the residence of the Raksha Mantri. They all went and, they signed some piece of paper. What was that piece of paper, for God's sake? We don't know. You know, that piece of paper was not doodling, on the blank sheet. What was it? What was written there? Did they actually sign, or this was a false news floated? You know, and then this gentleman is run up to say that, listen, we have prepared this whole thing with signatures. So you had jolly well go. Otherwise, we'll do this, this, this. And look at the depths which our current polity is plumbing. That the vice president of India is being directly or indirectly threatened or intimidated politically by the very people who brought him to office.
Yes, exactly.
So there is an element of intimidation. If they can intimidate the vice president of India or someone of such high constitutional standing, who is number two in the order of precedence ahead of the prime minister, then imagine the plight of anyone else in the country. It's a very serious matter. That's why I I had occasion to say yesterday on your program that this is an indication of very unseemly politics. You know what we are seeing today.
No, but
I just
in context to what you've said, Anand, I would want to go to Puneet now because that point is just coming along. You made some very significant points. And Puneet, now with relations to in connection with the vice president elections, now is it not very challenging for the opposition to put across its narrative as to why? I mean, they are already seeking answers as to why Jagdeep Dhankhar resigned. But now, after these questions, and if these questions are not answered, which in all likelihood they will not be answered, and then to face an election for the vice president, how challenging will it be for the opposition now? Will it just be symbolic? Anyways, the numbers are by their side. They will be, anyways, in all probabilities, they will lose. Everyone knows that. But then what kind of questions will the opposition raise then? Of the constitutional morality, the urgency on how this election was foisted onto the whole country.
See, well, the very first question there, with regard to the election process, would be when for the India bloc to actually come together and be able to field a consensus candidate. Remember when Mr. Dhankar contested, even though there was a lot of grief as West Bengal governor that he had given to the Trinamool Congress, and the Trinamool was part of the opposition, they abstained from the vote.
Yes.
So and the relationship between the Trinamool and the Congress party, which is the largest opposition party and the de facto leader of the India bloc, haven't really sort of improved since that episode. There's nothing to suggest that the Trinamool and the Congress are on very happy terms again. So then the Aam Aadmi Party, which had voted against Mr. Dhankar during the vice presidential election, has now made it very clear that it is no longer part of the India bloc. So does that mean that they will abstain, or whether they will vote against the nominee propped up by the government. That's another thing. Having said that, yes, as far as the numbers are concerned, whoever the BJP props up, at least in the given scenario, will not have the kind of landslide win that Mr. Dhankar had, because the numbers don't stack up that way. The
Yes.
BJP may have increased its strength in the NDA, may have increased its strength in the Rajya Sabha since Mr. Dhankar's election, but then its strength in the Lok Sabha has gone down. So, and that is what the electoral college for the vice president is, both houses of parliament. So, in terms of numbers, it will be a closer election, provided the India bloc is able to keep its ranks together. Then, of course, is the question of who their consensus candidate will be. I'm given to understand that towards the end of August, perhaps, or maybe even during that period of 4 or 5 days during the session, when Parliament is not going to function because of the Independence Day and weekend and all of that holiday, either during that period or very soon after the session concludes on the 21st, there may be a meeting of the India bloc leadership to discuss. That meeting anyway was supposed to happen, which was announced last Saturday, that there will be a physical meeting of the India bloc. But given Mr. Dhankar's surprise resignation, what I'm given to understand is that the meeting of the India bloc may even happen before they were actually planning for it. And one of the prime issues to be discussed would be for a consensus on the vice presidential candidate. As of now, as far as I know, I mean, my information is concerned, I don't think there is any discussion on a name so far in the India bloc, of who they might want to tap. There is. I spoke to a lot of India bloc MPs today, and several of them said that they would first want to see who the government has in mind, which to me doesn't really make sense, because it's not as if the India bloc has the numbers
Right.
and they'll be able to field a candidate who can beat the government's nominee hands down. So waiting for the government to first disclose their candidate and then reacting to that strategy with
Yeah.
their own strategy, to me, it makes no sense. I think they need to have their own independent strategy. They need to
Absolutely.
have their own independent talks, apply their own mind instead of being dictated to by what the government and what the BJP and its allies want
But
them to react to.
right. Puneet, I'm also getting tempted to ask you one question, which is, of course, related to this particular debate and also not related to this particular debate, because we don't know the reality. And that is that Dhankar's resignation, which the sources have discussed, is that it's happened because of the impeachment motion, which was accepted by Dhankar in Rajya Sabha. And a similar impeachment motion was moved in Lok Sabha also. Now, what happens to the impeachment motion? If you've read today, Justice Gawai has recused himself. He says that now a special bench will be constituted in the Justice Yashwant Verma case, and then likewise the things will move on from here. So, what happens to the impeachment motion? Is it in a limbo now? Will it happen?
No, 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 Neelu. See, don't mix up what has happened in the Supreme Court with what has happened in Parliament. The two have to be looked at separately. The motion for removal of Justice Verma that has been admitted in the Rajya Sabha uh, is under the Judges Inquiry Act. The Judges Inquiry Act lays down a very clear procedure for removal of a judge. There is no, doubt on how that procedure operates. What was happening in the Supreme Court was on a petition filed by a third party, not by a
For
member
the
of parliament or.
For
Yeah.
the impeachment, it cannot be said that it's a sub judice case, it's there in the court, so
No, 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 not
delay
at
the
all.
impeachment.
Not
It's
at
not
all.
going to happen like that.
No, the only thing which I must admit, I'm not very clear about, which I need to check. I'd be glad if Mr. Sahai could, if he can shed some light on this, is that, you know, like we discussed the other day, there is a process laid out under the Judges Inquiry Act and the Constitution for removal of a judge. Now, there were two notices that were submitted on the same day. One notice, which has been admitted and is now being touted as the reason for Mr. Dhankhar's resignation, was the notice in the Rajya Sabha that was served by the members, 68 members of the opposition. There were 152 members who are cutting across party lines from the Lok Sabha who have also signed a notice, which was submitted out to the Lok Sabha Speaker also yesterday, day before. And that notice, the admission of that notice was not announced on the floor of the House. Okay. So I personally need to check whether in such a scenario, uh, I'm not very clear whether both notices will proceed accordingly, or whether since the one in Rajya Sabha has been admitted, while the one and the information relayed to the House, while the one in the Lok Sabha, there has been no relaying of information that the notice has been admitted. So whether it will still be considered because it was submitted on the same day, whether it will still be considered same day, or in the other case where you may have both houses moving notices, but then the date of admission becomes different, and so the constitutional provision is that the notice accepted first is the notice that will be initiated. The proceedings will be initiated on that. So to me, what is not clear as of now is whether there will be a joint motion to remove with both houses, presiding officers of both houses jointly naming the inquiry committee, or whether now in the current scenario it will be just the Rajya Sabha that has to name the inquiry committee. Because as I said, what has happened in the Supreme Court, Justice Gavai recusing and all of that is separate. Here, the inquiry committee that has to be set up under the Judges Inquiry Act is to be set up by Parliament. It has nothing to do with the Supreme Court's willingness to set it up or not.
All right, all
Okay,
right.
so
Yeah.
we shouldn't be
So,
mixing up the two.
yeah, yeah. I'm glad you clarified that because there was a little confusion in my mind on that. But yes, Anand, coming to you now for the concluding comments about this entire issue of Dhankar's resignation, how it will be taken up by the opposition, and how is it really going to end into? Yes, Anand, very briefly.
See, whatever the reasons which led Mr. Dhankar to act in a manner that was very different from the way he has been acting these last 3 years, and in a way that will make the government feel that he's not behaving like our man anymore. So what was it? What happened? All that we do not know anything about. All the explanations you're getting is elaboration of certain events within the house that day. He moved the opposition motion first, and he went to the business advisory, and the government ministers didn't do this, or the BJP leader in the house, he said something which he ought not to have said. All this hurt him very much, etc., etc. They detracted from his dignity, and so forth. All that is true. But why did Mr. Dhankar himself, in the first instance, change his stance? Or at least he did something which appeared to the government that he is no longer a reliable quantity. What is it? We can speculate. I can speculate, and so can you and everybody else. We don't know the answers to that. But having said that, I'd also say that Mr. Nadda, the leader of the House, he is the leader of the House. In addition, he's the BJP president. He was intemperate in his speech. when he said, what
Yes.
I will say on will go on record,
On record.
what Kharge says will not go on record. He was completely out of line. And I hope that Mr. Kharge has not been taken off the record, acting on the angry words of an ordinary MP of the House who has been named leader by the BJP, even though he's BJP president. And I feel sorry that Mr. Dhankar did not summon the resources to tell Mr. Natta that you're out of line and what you've said just now, that sentence will be struck off the record. It is not part of the record. It detracts from the dignity of the Vice Chairman of India, the Chairman of the
That's
House,
an important point.
right?
Yeah.
Uh, and therefore of the House itself. He should have, if he was in his right frame of mind and conscious of the dignity of the House as well as his own office, he should have, any chairman in his position would have admonished the member, regardless of who the member is. In this case, the member was the party chief, All India party chief, as well as leader of the BJP in Rajya Sabha. That's one incident. Then that meeting at 4 or half past 4, when the two ministers, parliamentary affairs minister and the other minister, they didn't bother to show up. They say that we have informed his office and all that. But that is not how you deal with constitutional office, holders of constitutional office. So I think the opposition party, I do not know what they have in mind, and who am I to speak for them? I'm speaking for myself. That it seems logical to me that these are the points from this whole debacle that we have seen, resignation of the
Yes.
Vice President of India, that those are the points to be taken to the people of India, that your government at the center is treating the Vice President of India in this manner, as though there are no restraints on them. The BJP president saying that nothing that you have said, the opposition leader has said, will go on record. Only my words will go on record. What does that mean? Which means the parliamentary system, you are saying, I don't care for the parliamentary system. Let it break down. But
Absolutely.
through sheer show of force, the power of being in government, it was the assertion of that power that Mr. Nadda tried to do. Now, Mr. Nadda is no one's hot favorite as party chief right now. He has
Absolutely.
got
No,
extension upon extension. Let me please
right.
finish this.
Yes.
Please listen to this. He's got extension upon extension because there's a clash between the BJP leadership and the RSS leadership. Because RSS does not want the powers that be in Delhi to decide who the chief will be, party chief will be. The BJP is the creation of the RSS and not the other way around. And that is why Nadda, because who had spoken very shabbily, if you recall, last year about the RSS, that what the head is the RSS, they are there because we are there, we can get by very perfectly well without them and so on. And then he had to come back with tail between his legs after they did very poorly in the Lok Sabha election. Because the RSS chaps didn't come out to campaign. The whole infrastructure of that organization of the BJP fundamentally rests on those guys.
Right.
Therefore, with Nadda speaking this sharp language, totally out of line, I mean, as far as personal behavior goes, totally in trespass of the rules of the house and the dignity of
Yes.
the house. Will RSS be amused by this? As it is, they look at Nadda as an interloper, someone who has far exceeded his term as per the BJP constitution. He's going on getting extension after extension because Mr. Modi and his friends at the high levels in the BJP are unable to find a replacement for Mr. Nadda who will be acceptable all around. There's a tug of war going on there between Nagpur and the South Bloc, let's say. Okay, in that event, the discomfiture produced in the BJP leadership, in the government leadership, by Mr. Nadda's words in the House that day, also has a meaning for this, tension between the BJP leadership and the RSS leadership. So these are the questions which cannot be papered over. They have to be, taken on board, and they have to be taken to the country.
Now, so the
If
big,
I'm writing a column, will I not mention this?
of
So
course, of course,
if I'm a political person in the opposition camp, will I not be speaking in Calcutta or Chennai or Patna or Lucknow or wherever I am, or Delhi or Bangalore? Will I not stress these things? So these are
right.
very important consideration to which I'm sorry, it has not come up really in the media so far. That
Right.
surprises
No, no,
me. That
you've
surprises me.
raised important points, and I just very briefly, Puneet, the point which Anand was mentioning, that that particular sentence where Nadda said that whatever I will say, that will go on record and not what you have said. Now, has that portion been expunged, or is it still part of the proceedings? Because what did Dhankar say after that? That is also very important. What did he say?
No, well,
I
he
don't
didn't
remember.
say anything.
He didn't say anything.
He
Yeah.
didn't say anything.
Hmm.
And of course, whatever Mr. Kharge was saying is very much on the record because he had concluded his, I mean, he was cut short. He hadn't concluded, but he was cut short by Mr. Dhankar himself because it was midway through Mr. Kharge's speech that Mr. Dhankar called Nadda to speak. And then when the other opposition MPs started protesting, it is at that point that Mr. Nadda made that statement of only what I will say will go on record. So Mr. Kharge wasn't really speaking at that point. So there's, his whatever he said had already been taken on record. I haven't been able to check whether Mr. Nadda's statements is still on the record or not because normally the proceedings of the House had been a very prompt practice of even of uploading the verbatim debates on the Rajya Sabha website, but that particular day, because of Mr. Dhankar resigning, the verbatim debates were not uploaded. So I haven't been able to go back and check. If it's been uploaded now, I'll have to go and check whether it is still there on the record or whether it has been expunged. But that day, the verbatim debates were not uploaded because, again, Mr. Dhankar took a lot of personal interest in those verbatim debates while he was vice president. And I'm told that he would call up the Rajya Sabha secretariat. He would ask for the printed versions of the verbatim debates and go through every page and decide what stays, what goes. Even after, irrespective of whether he has expunged certain remarks on the floor of the House, but even after the proceedings, and that's why you saw a lot of controversy through his tenure, where members, suddenly the next day would come
Right.
completely surprised that whatever we've said is not there on record. So what happened? There was no order to expunge it. How has it been expunged? So even without saying that I'm going into this and I'll expunge these or whatever, he used to just summon the records and expunge the details on his
Yeah.
own. And
Can I
members
just,
would get to know the next day.
Puneet, may I just supplement what you said?
Yes,
This has
Yes.
very
been
briefly, Anand,
this has
because I have
been
to end the show. There's another
yeah,
show
this
for
has
which I.
been the practice in both houses. After the leader of the opposition in Lok Sabha, Rahul Gandhi made a lengthy speech, 1.5 hours long last year.
Yeah.
Ultimately, the following day, what appeared was about 9/10, 90% had been scrapped.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Speaker did that. So this was not only Dhankar, but also Mr. Om Birla in the other house.
Yeah.
So the presiding officer had been, responding to certain signals in the political system in both houses, and that is why it's. I'll be happy if Mr. Kharge's words have remained, and I'll be happy if Mr. Nadda's words, those particular words, those very offensive
Yeah.
words, have been taken off the record.
Right. I think today we've had a very exhaustive and a very analytical conversation. I'm sure the viewers would have loved it because there were so many aspects on which we discovered things today discussed. But all what you can say towards the end is that it has been very unfortunate what has happened. And it looks like the authority of the parliament has been undermined. The authority of the constitutional posts looks undermined. And how this is going to be repaired, how this is going to come back to its original glory, we do not know. I'll have to end it here. Thank you so much, Anand, for joining. Puneet, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.